having paid links pointing to your site might be killing your rankings right now. I know this because I've recovered 3 different sites by removing paid links from backlink profiles. And in this video, I'm going to explain to you how I did that. Now, jumping into my screen over here, Ahrefs, a couple screenshots from example case studies where I worked on these sites, noticed that they had paid links in their backlink profile, removed them by 410ing pages, and I'll get into what that means in a bit. And then a couple of months later, we saw recoveries. Did this 3 separate times for 3 specific instances where this was an issue, and saw recoveries every single time. Now, it's not a silver bullet. It doesn't work every single time, but it's part of an overall package if you're trying to recover a site, fix up a penalty. Now, I want to tell you another story really quick, just kind of taking a step back. When I was working on these sites, they're very competitive, and they're in search results that have very big domains in them. So to outrank them, we need lots of links. Now, help us go faster, we hired agencies that could just build links directly to our pages. One of those agencies was called Adigi. They changed their name since. But basically, when we asked them, hey, what can you do to help us? The issue here is that they basically gave us a bunch of paid links that they could get us a link on. Now, initially I was like, okay, this makes sense. But then I asked other agencies and they gave me almost identical lists of links that they could place. And my radar started to go up. I'm like, okay, well, if they're all getting their links from the same place, now that's an issue, because what they're doing is basically any business that comes to them and says, hey, I need links, they're going to just put links on these sites that just exist to sell links, and that's their only purpose. Now, that brings me to the next thing I want to talk about, which is link farms. So basically, what happens is these agencies will stand up, they'll buy expired domains, and they'll just put content on them and then sell link placements on them. And that's how they'll build a business model on top of that, right? So they'll go out, find websites that need links, place links on sites they own, and then charge customers for that. That's a link farm. Now, what do link farms look like? Well, one example that I love pulling up every day is a site called soup.io, which was in the list that Adigi gave me, which looked identical to Zito.com. And again, to an untrained eye, you would not even catch this, right? You just be like, sure, you're the agency, you know best. Just give me the links. That's all I care about, because businesses are just trained that that's what they need, right? They read these blog posts. I've had clients, they come up to me and they're like, Shane, I just followed the blog post that said I needed links to increase my traffic. I just did that. I just bought them on Fiverr or at an agency. It said, they sold me links for $100 a link. And then they saw their traffic go down, and they're, of course, shocked, what happened? They're getting links like this from sites like soup.io, which if you check their traffic, again, business owners don't do this, but SEOs do and know to do that because they're trained. But the issue is when agencies talk to business owners, 9 times out of 10, they're not looking at these reports. So they won't see that the traffic was something and now is nothing. They'll just say, oh yeah, this site has traffic. And technically it does, but it's like the remnants of what was. And if you pull the site up in archive.org, it used to exist for a different purpose. In this case, you can see it used to be like a blogging sort of multimedia scrapbook kind of conglomeration. But the point is it had some other purpose that was the reason it got all those links. So what if you have a backlink profile full of paid links and you want to try to recover a site or maybe take sort of preventative measures? Well, you have a couple of options. Option number 1, which you might have heard of, is your disavow. So disavowing links to your site is pretty common. It's pretty popular. Google has documentation around this. I have never seen a site disavow links and seen any movement. In fact, the only time I've seen movement is usually negative. And I think some people have published studies on this where disavowing basically does nothing. And it sort of aligns with my experience. And it really never happens. Now, I had a client that their traffic declined, and they came to me and they're like, hey, Shane, can you help recover my site? And I was like, sure, let me take a look. And I pull up their backlink profile, and sure enough, it's full of all of these sites that are paid links. And I know because I've seen them in so many lists. Every time I talk to an agency, they have the same set of links. And in this case, Realty Times is such a common link that I see in essentially all of these lists, right? Realty Times right there, traffic column, and that's all the business owner will see is DR and traffic. And then of course I have my notes here, rejected. And I just saw these and I was like, yeah, I'm not buying any of these links because they're all paid for. They're not hard to get, these links. I can get them myself for cheaper. Because what happens is these agencies will be the middleman, right? They'll do an upcharge. They'll go to the site if they don't own it and say, hey, I have this client, I want to place this link. How much? They'll be like $100. the agency will, tack on $100 fee on top of that, and then they'll charge the customer that fee. Instead, if you just go direct and just be like, hey, can I get a link on your site? They'll just, sure, here's, pay me. So if you really want to, just go around the agency and just ask the website owner to just pay for a link, and they'll give it to you, because that's ultimately what the agency is doing 9 times out of 10, unless they have a bespoke relationship, in which case that's different, but that's very rare. So again, what do I do? What do I recommend if you were in this situation? And how did I recover those sites in the past? Well, I had this 410 strategy that has worked, that I and a couple of other SEOs have tested multiple times, and has basically been the source of all the recoveries I've had anytime I saw a backlink profile full of paid links. Now, what is the 410 strategy and how does it work? Well, if you're familiar with 404's page, 404 pages, you want to fix those as an SEO. This is actually, the 410 strategy is basically deleting pages and sending the 410 status code back to Google via the server code, and essentially saying, hey, this page is gone and never coming back. Now, that's different from a 404, where basically the page could come back and Google might not pull the page out of the search results, and it'll just take longer. So why I prefer the 410, because if you're sending the 410 code, basically Google will know that, okay, this page is never coming back. I'm going to remove it from the search results, and I'm going to basically take action faster. And now the 404 could work, but the point of the 410 404 at the end of the day is to break the link between the page that is sending you that paid link and your site. If you break the link, essentially that should break the equity. That's the signals that are getting passed from the paid toxic link to your site. And I just pulled an excerpt here, just kind of backing me up here, because there's probably people thinking, well, you're still going to get the negative signals from the page. The answer is no. I mean, it's probably some technical reason, but basically Google ignores links that are pointing to 404 pages. Gary Iles here sort of saying this back in the day, but it's true in our testing, right? The examples that I have, we had links that were paid and pointing to pages that we just 410, we deleted them, and we took the content and we republished it somewhere else on the site. And we saw a slight dip in rankings initially because, of course, the page is deleted. Google is going to de-index that page, but then the other page exists elsewhere on the site, and immediately we'll get the rankings back. And over time, because the toxic links have been removed, the overall site health has improved, and we see net positive long term. And again, this is not a silver bullet, but if you have a lot of paid links, and the way I like to think about the paid links is I have a ratio, and basically for sites that have a bad paid link to non-paid link ratio, that's when you start to get into hot water, because every site probably has some paid links in their backlink profile. And what I do to try to find these links is I've been accumulating sites that are actively selling, because you'll get those emails, hey, I have these links, I could place them on these sites and I'll charge you whatever. You get those emails all the time that people can do that. Plus, there's like a ton of link marketplaces that I mentioned one earlier, Rank Watch over here. There's so many of these popping up, or Rank Castle, sorry. And it's really easy to get links on these sites. So what I've done is I've just accumulated all of them in a list, and I called it my domain blacklist, and I was actively giving it away, on my site. What I decided to do to help myself and my clients is just, I sort of vibe coded a platform, a tool called SEO Shield, that I took all the links that I've ever accumulated, and I just put them in a platform and a tool where essentially you can upload your backlinks and get your toxicity report and see which links are paid for, or at least in my list. Again, it's not exhaustive. There's still links out there that are being paid and bought and whatever, but I basically have just accumulated all the ones that I am seeing. And I would say it's fairly representative. And I have right now 157,000, and I try to refresh this at least monthly, maybe every other month, depending on the month. But yeah, it's free. You just need to sign up and you can get access. And I just want to do a quick demo of how it works so that you can understand sort of how to use this tool. So I'm going to use a site called K9 of Mine, which I know this site is sort of facing some declines here. I haven't even looked at the backlink profile, so I'm just doing this cold. And how it works is I'm going to go to backlinks, and I'm going to quickly go to best links and show best links only. And just so you understand what I'm doing here, I want DR, and I usually do 10 and above, and traffic can be 1,000, can be 500. I'm going to keep it 1,000. And I usually do in content, but I'll do all, and I do follow, because then I want to see links that are high quality links. They call them QLRDs, and there's 586 here. And what I do is I want to see the bad links, the toxic links, in relation to the QLRDs. So there's a ratio there and a percentage. And usually, if I see that ratio above 10%, the site is in hot water. Because in theory, these are the links that are actually passing link equity. If there is like 100 of these links are paid for, and that's like passing toxic equity. That's how I like to think about it, at least. Is it perfect? Again, no. But what we're going to do is we're going to export these links. And then we're going to go to my tool here. And then we're just going to sign in. Okay, so what you're looking at is the backlink database. This is my view because I'm the admin. But basically, 157,000 links. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the risk assessment. And I'm going to click Analyze Links. And I'm going to set up that doc right now. Now, to set up this doc, what we need to do, a couple of cleaning things. I'm going to delete everything in this column. And I'm going to delete all of these columns up to the target URL. And then I only want those 3 columns. And I'm going to eventually make this a lot more streamlined, but for now, this is just the prep work you got to do. So these are all the links they have, and this is where they're pointing. So this is so this column, I need the root domain trimmed down. So I'm going to grab an Excel formula. So I just go here and I grab this formula here, paste it there, and then I'll update the formula to look for, I think I'm looking for B2. So I'll just go quickly update that. Okay, now we have the root domain. I'm just going to go do one of these, paste. Okay, so this is the file I'm going to upload into the tool. So let me save it. All right, file is uploaded, and I'm going to hit Analyze Backlinks. So it should be pretty quick now. And once it's done, it's just going to spit out a report. And there you go. So out of 586 unique domains, we found 81 harmful. So this is actually kind of risky. So again, what you're looking at here is there are 586 QRDs, that's sites with at least a DR of 10 and 1,000 traffic, right? And then of those links, 81 of them were paid, basically links that are selling and paying, selling access to their site. So, and if you skim through this, you can see which sites are the most risky. So anything very high, I got to change the colors, but you can export this. And then we'll open up this list just like this. So you can actually see where we found the links. And in this case, the domains. And I would look at the very highs. Anything where it's very high, the way that these filters work is basically very high means we found many websites that were selling access to this website. So there's not that many. There's Dog's Best Life, Literally Darling, No Hearts District. And if we do high, you can see those. Millennial Magazine, that's a very common one. I've seen a million times. Houses Match. How about Mediums? Petpedia. Yeah, you get the point. So that's how this works. And what I would recommend is basically, if I'm trying to recover this site, I would just delete all the pages, effectively. I would delete all the pages that, let me actually go back to the report. Yeah, I would just delete all the pages that have these toxic links. And if I go back to this view, I can actually do a pivot off of those pages and see how many pages are we talking here. So I'll just do a quick pivot table, and then we'll do target URL. Yeah, so they have a few. We're looking like 60 pages. So yeah, it's pretty spread out. So you're going to need to delete a lot of them. But yeah, what you can do one of two things. You can 410 all of these pages and not republish the content, or if you really like this content, you can 410 them all and then republish them on a different URL and then let them ride. In this case, since this is a pretty badly affected site, I would probably take pretty strong measures here and not even republish the content and just completely delete those pages. And that would be the first step of many to try to recover a site like this. Anyway, and this is how I do my recoveries when I'm working on my client sites. And if you want my help for your site, feel free to book a call with me. Link in the description below. And that's all I got for you in this video. Make sure to watch the next video, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.